You know, friends, I alluded in one of my videos last week to the idea that there's just so much in the news that sometimes it's hard to figure out what exactly you want to talk about. I think it's easy, though, today. Today is Monday, it is June 13th, and economically, the sky is kind of falling in a lot of places. We had CPI data that came out on Friday that was disastrous. Today, the stock market is down, crypto is tanking. So, as the old saying goes, it's the economy stupid. I think that's what we talk about. And Senator Rick Scott thought that too. Late on Friday, he put out a statement about what he thinks of Joe Biden. So we're going to get into that statement, but then as well, I'm going to get into some stuff that kind of makes the case that Rick Scott's got a point. So we're going to dig into that. My name is Dan. This is the Soule of Wisdom. Let's go ahead and get to it. If you are visually gifted watching on YouTube or Rumble, this is right from Rick Scott's website. And his statement reads as follows: Joe Biden is failing Americans. He created a crisis that is devastating families' livelihood and is now turning his back on Americans when they need his leadership the most. Biden is totally disconnected from the pain his policies have caused, and he has no plan to curb his self-made inflation disaster. Sadly, I think it's now clear, that rich kid Biden, quote, is just too hopelessly out of touch and heartless to ever care enough to fix it. Think about it. Joe Biden has never struggled financially, spent half a century living on the taxpayer's dime, and has no interest in understanding what it's like for Americans who are hurting right now. The problem isn't that he grew up with money, it's that he doesn't care about people who didn't. Inflation was 1.4% the day he took office. Gas was $2.39 a gallon. Now we are seeing inflation at a 40-year record high, and gas so expensive, families, especially our poorest families like mine growing up, are having to make choices between fuel in the tank or food on the table. Joe Biden has failed, and his failed administration, have been wrong on inflation every step of the way, and Americans are sick and tired of paying the price for his incompetence. And then at the end of the press release, they point out how gasoline is up 48.7%, eggs 32.2%, public transportation 26.3%, milk 15.9%, and meat and poultry 14.2%. And if you've, done things like filled your gas tank or gone to the grocery store, then you realize that these stats are proper. Now, just to be clear, Rick Scott, regardless of the statement, is not going to be any fan of Joe Biden, so he's not going to say anything supportive, especially in the area of the economy. And it's clear that he's taking his shots, like when he calls him Rich Kid Biden, and then he points out that he was poor growing up. I mean, there's propaganda here. There's political positioning that's always part of this. But he's not wrong. And let's dig into some of the things going on to kind of prove that he's not wrong. Okay, so this happened on CNBC, and this is via Fox News. But CNBC was interviewing a dude from Biden's administration that is on his economic team, and he was asked by the CNBC guy what the White House missed with regards to inflation and what they might have learned. And his response was, I don't think the White House missed much at all in the following sense. We have a team, and I know you're pushing in a different direction, but I think looking forward, this is what's most important. We have a team of seasoned people here led by a president who believes that we have to do everything, Bernstein said. We don't sit on our hands and hope that these forecasts for stable growth and inflation slowing down come true. He said he's quote, never done more in his career to help with supply. Quote, head down, continue to do all we can to fight inflation. The fact that we have a highly competent group here working to do this extremely difficult, extremely different than just trying to spin things and say who got right what at what time. To be honest, that was difficult for me to read. And I don't normally trip over words as much as I did there, especially at the end. But the reason that it was so difficult for me to read, quite frankly, is that it's a bunch of nonsense that he said. You know, he's pressed on what they've learned, and the interviewer is clearly trying to get out of him, what are you going to do? And Mr. Bernstein here just simply says, in a nutshell, well, we're working hard and we've got competent people, and Biden believes that we need to do everything. Well, what in the F is everything? What does that mean? You know, there's so much talk from everybody, not just politicians, but everybody in the world right now. It's these worthless platitudes. We're talking with emotions. We're using fuzzy words. I pointed this out in a video the other day, but we were in a doctor's office, and there was this ad up on the screen that's on the doctor's office wall, and it was advertising this medication, and it used such fuzzy language. It talked about how 10 to 50% of Americans may have this disease, and this drug might reduce their symptoms. So we get this big, long statistic that's like variable, 10 to 50%, and then we use words mights and maybes. In other words, there's no stats that they're advertising that are backing this thing at all. It's the same kind of thing with this Biden admin guy's statement right here. He's saying, well, you know, we're doing all we can, and Biden believes we need to do everything. So, yay. No yay here. There's nothing helpful about that. So when Rick Scott says the administration is incompetent, maybe. Because what are they doing? I don't know. Well, they need to do something, okay? Back on screen, here we have from Statista gas prices since February 23rd. And we thought they were bad on February 23rd when the average price of a gallon of gas was $3.54 and diesel was $3.96. And then it's just gone up. To regular being $5.01 as of today, and diesel $5.77. And I will tell you, where I live, we're pushing closer to $6 a gallon for regular unleaded, and we're already over $6 for diesel. And this is a problem. Even if you don't drive, this is a problem, because fuel costs are the basis of everything, because we have to move goods through our economy. That takes energy. You know, stuff doesn't just magically show up in your grocery store. It has to get there. And there's all sorts of energy that's expended to get it there. And a lot of the increase in cost, not all of it, but a large percentage of it, of the increase in the cost of your daily goods are fuel. It's a fuel problem. And you know, since this guy's taken office, it's only gotten worse and worse. And we can go, we blame the Ukraine, except for the fact that gas prices were rising before we had the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So that argument only goes so far. And I alluded earlier today that, you know, the stock market and everything else has been a disaster. Well, it most certainly has. The Dow looks like it's finished 876 points down. That's just short of 3%. NASDAQ lost 4.7%. The S&P 3.9% today. Those are huge losses, and they had losses last week. It's just tanking. Crypto, even worse. Earlier today, Bitcoin was down 15%. At one point, when I looked at my personal Bitcoin account, it was down. Bitcoin was trading down over 20%. So there's factors behind that. One of them is one of the major coin Bitcoin and crypto trading platforms kind of froze everybody today. That's not a good sign. But there's no safe place, is the bottom line, for you to go with your money right now. Okay? You going to put it in the stock market? Are you going to put it in crypto? Well, that's risky. I mean, I can't give you financial advice, and that's not what I'm here to do. So this is not financial advice. I'm just pointing out that it's a risky place to go. You know, for us, we're just holding on. You know, we hodl, but we'll see what happens. You know, you could say you could go invest it in real estate, but I'm starting to see more and more articles now that are warning of a potential bubble bursting there, and that there was like 10 or 12 markets I saw the other day where real estate is now starting to decline in value. So that may not be the answer. You could say go to cash, except inflation kills you there. So, I mean, where do you go with your money? Well, I don't know. But it's not just Biden who's the problem, quite frankly. This the other day from Pramila Jayapal, where she says 1 million people will fall into poverty every 33 hours this year. One new billionaire was created every 30 hours over the last 2 years. Both of these things shouldn't be true. Tax the rich and level the playing field. Okay. So this is typical politician here. She gives us no idea as to what she's citing to come up with these quote-unquote stats. People will fall into poverty every 33 hours, 1 million people. Well, how do we define poverty? And are we talking just in the United States, or are we talking worldwide? I believe she's talking worldwide. There's a lot of people who are taking this tweet and believing that she's talking about the United States. And if she is, then we're all going to be in poverty within months. Every single American, if you work out her math. But then how do we make billionaires? So that doesn't make sense either. So I think it's like international stats, but even so, she doesn't cite this. She doesn't cite a source here. But if they are international stats, which I think is what she's talking about, then she says tax the rich to level the playing field. Well, how does taxing the rich Americans help the rest of the world? What does that have to do with anything? And let's get into that, because that's so often the argument that's made. This is what the Biden administration and so many on the left want to push, is the idea, well, if the rich just paid their fair share, everything would be fixed. It would all be okay. That's what they argue. Well, let's get into that, shall we? Again, on your screen, tax the rich, okay? There are 745 billionaires in the United States, and this is Institute for Policy Studies, and this was October 18th of 2021, so 7 months ago, roughly, 7-8 months, okay? They said at that time there were 745 billionaires in the United States, and they were holding $5 trillion in wealth. Now, just because they hold that much wealth doesn't mean it's all taxable. We tax income in the United States. We don't tax unrealized gains, which is how you get these billionaires. They're holding lots of stocks. They're holding lots of assets that are not liquid. And that is what makes them billionaires. And there's been this argument to tax unrealized gains. I'm not going to get into that. But let's just make this argument. Let's say, as a quote-unquote tax, that we go in with these billionaires and we take away 90% of what they have. Somehow we get that done. We pass a law, the Supreme Court says it's okay. None of this is ever going to happen, but let's say it does. And we go and we grab 90% of everything from them. That would be $4.5 trillion. And Pramila says, well, this will level the playing field, right? Here's the problem with that. Again, on your screen, in 2021, the government spent $6.82 trillion. So, If we take 4.5 trillion, 90% of the wealth that all the billionaires in the United States hold, it doesn't even cover government spending for an entire year. So tell me how that levels the playing field. Look, Rick Scott, I don't know a whole ton about him because Florida's not my state. I know he's conservative. I know he used to be the governor there. Now he's a senator. You know, he has conservative values. He came out and said, you know, Biden is, for lack of a better way to put it, a crap show. I think that's what he was implying. And I don't disagree with him based upon all of this data. But what his statement does say, and if anybody actually takes an honest look at the news and at the data, you have to understand that you get what you vote for. We voted for this America. This is what we have now. And say what you will, but prior to COVID at least, and honestly even coming out of COVID before he left office, we were doing all right here. It was some of the best times that we've had. And my wife and I worked hard during those times, and we really were able to change around our world. And we had more money invested and less debt than we have had at any point in our lives. And now in the last year and a half, we've watched so much of that melt away because of an economy that's just going down the toilet. Now, I'm sorry, but it was working under the last guy. It's not working under this guy. And he can say, well, I inherited X, Y, and Z. Dude, you're in office. It's your job. Figure it out. And I don't want to hear arguments either about, well, it's down all over the world. No, there are places that are doing well. Ethiopia has higher GDP growth than the United States percentage-wise right now. Ethiopia. Now, I'm not saying we should all move to Ethiopia. We're still leading a much, much better standard of life here. It's a better standard of living. But it says something that when a poor country in Africa is showing better growth than we are in the what should be the richest and most abled country in the world, we can't seem to get it together. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. But we did this because orange guy bad, and we couldn't handle tweets. I'll take the tweets. Give me cheap gas, better prices at the store, and investments that aren't losing value right and left day after day. So, Senator Rick Scott, I think you got it right. Was your language a little bit incendiary? Yeah, but you're not wrong. Not in my opinion. But what's your opinion? Let me know what you think in the comments about Rick Scott's statement that the Biden administration has failed us. Do you think it has? What do you think about the gas prices and the markets that are crashing? What do you think about Pramila Jayapal's idea that we should just be able to tax the billionaires, tax the wealthy, and that'll get us out of this? Give me your thoughts on that. Leave me a comment. Just be respectful when you do. That's all I ask. If you haven't already done so with this channel, please do like, subscribe, share it with your friends. These things all help us get out there. The channel is growing. It grows faster with your help, so I appreciate it. I'm going to leave it there, and until the next time I see you, thank you for watching.